The sun streamed through the curtains, casting a warm golden glow on the spacious bedroom that Emily had called home for over a decade. Her chestnut hair fanned out across the pillow as she lay in peaceful slumber, the soft rise and fall of her chest indicating a tranquil rest. At 42, she was the epitome of grace and elegance, but little did she know that her life was about to take an unexpected and devastating turn. Emily and Michael had been married for 12 blissful years. Their love was the stuff of romance novels, or so Emily believed. He was the man of her dreams, a charismatic stock trader who always came home with a smile on his face, ready to wrap her in a loving embrace. The world outside their home saw the perfect couple, the picture of marital bliss. But behind closed doors, secrets lay buried, ready to detonate their idyllic life. Michael, a man with charm as disarming as his deceptions were cunning, had been leading a double life. His frequent business trips, which he claimed were essential to his stock trading career, were a clever guise for his other family. Unbeknownst to Emily, he had a second wife, Anna, who was now pregnant with their child. Michael's life was a web of lies, tangled and woven so intricately that he believed he could keep his two worlds from ever colliding. As the clock on the nightstand ticked on, Emily stirred from her sleep, her eyes fluttering open to a new day. She yawned and stretched, relishing in the calm that surrounded her. As she reached for her phone to check for any messages from her husband, her heart sank. There was a notification from a number she didn't recognize, and it bore a message that sent shivers down her spine. Emily, the message read, "I found something you need to see. Meet me in an hour at the coffee shop down the street." Confused and apprehensive, Emily stared at the message. Who was this mysterious sender, and what did they have to show her? She glanced at the clock. It was still early, but she couldn't ignore the ominous message. A feeling of dread gnawed at her, compelling her to respond. She texted back, agreeing to the meeting. While Emily showered and dressed, Michael was already out of the house, claiming another one of his business trips. As far as he was concerned, his secrets were secure. He had always been meticulous, ensuring that his two lives never intersected. He had no inkling that today would be different. Emily arrived at the coffee shop, her heart racing with anxiety. The place was nearly empty, save for one person sitting at the corner table, partially hidden behind a newspaper. She approached the table, and her eyes widened in surprise as she recognized the woman sitting there. It was Sophia, the cleaning lady, who had been working in their home for years. Sophia was a kind and unassuming woman, but now her expression was filled with a mixture of fear and guilt. She motioned for Emily to sit, and with trembling hands, she slid an envelope across the table. "You need to see what's inside," Sophia whispered. Emily opened the envelope, her fingers trembling as she pulled out a photograph. Her breath caught in her throat when she saw an ultrasound image of a baby. She stared at it, her mind racing to make sense of the image before her. She knew that it couldn't be hers. She had never been pregnant. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she turned to Sophia. "What is this? Whose baby is this?" Sophia hesitated before speaking, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emily, I think your husband, Michael, has a second wife." "That's their baby." The room seemed to spin around Emily as the weight of Sophia's words hit her. Her perfect world had crumbled in an instant. She couldn't fathom that Michael, the love of her life, had kept such a devastating secret from her. The walls of her trust had come crashing down, leaving her in a state of shock. With a rush of anger and disbelief, Emily confronted Sophia. "How do you know about this, And why are you telling me? Sophia recounted the day she had stumbled upon the ultrasound photo while cleaning Michael's study. The shock and horror she had felt, along with her suspicion that something was deeply wrong, had led her to reach out to Emily. "Emily," Sophia said, her eyes filled with regret, "I couldn't keep such a terrible secret. I care about you, and I thought you deserved to know the truth." Emily's world was shattered, and she dismissed Sophia with a mixture of anger and confusion. As she left the coffee shop, she couldn't help but wonder if the photo was genuine. The doubt gnawed at her, and she knew that her next steps would be fraught with turmoil. She had to find out the truth, even if it meant confronting the man she thought she knew so well. The story had only just begun, and the secrets that lay hidden were bound to surface, leaving a trail of betrayal and heartache in their wake. Emily had no choice but to unravel the web of lies that had ensnared her, even if it meant sacrificing the love she had cherished for so long. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions for Emily. She couldn't concentrate on anything but the startling revelation that her beloved husband, Michael, had been living a double life. The ultrasound photo of the unborn child weighed heavily on her mind, and she couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion that it might be genuine. The normally serene and graceful Emily was now a bundle of nerves, her every thought consumed by doubt and betrayal. She decided to confide in her closest friend, Sarah. Over a cup of coffee in a quiet corner of their favorite cafe, Emily hesitantly began to share her story. "Sarah, something terrible has happened," Emily started, her voice trembling. "I got a message from a stranger, and they showed me a photo of an ultrasound of a baby. A baby that isn't mine." Sarah's brow furrowed in concern. "Emily, that's unbelievable. Are you sure this isn't some kind of cruel joke?" Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, and she produced the photograph from her bag. "I wish it were a joke, but this is real. I don't know what to do, Sarah. I love Michael, and I never thought he could betray me like this." Sarah examined the photograph, her expression growing increasingly solemn. "Emily, you need to get to the bottom of this. If what you suspect is true, it's a huge betrayal. You deserve the truth." Emily nodded in agreement, but she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Confronting Michael seemed like an insurmountable challenge, one that could irreparably damage the life she had built with him. Meanwhile, Michael was away on another one of his business trips, and Emily seized the opportunity to investigate further. She began with the study, the room where Sophia claimed to have found the incriminating photo. The study was filled with books on stock trading and business, giving it the appearance of a place where a diligent and successful stock trader would work. But Emily's gaze shifted to the desk, and she noticed an inconspicuous drawer. She hesitated for a moment, her hand trembling as she pulled it open. Inside, she discovered a stack of letters, each one addressed to someone named Anna. Her heart pounded in her chest as she realized the letters were filled with expressions of love and promises of a future together. The more she read, the more it became apparent that Michael was leading a double life, and Anna was a significant part of it. The truth was undeniable, and Emily felt a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, betrayal, sadness, and confusion swirled within her. She had to confront Michael about his deception, but she needed more evidence to expose the extent of his lies. As she continued her search, Emily discovered a hidden compartment in the desk drawer. It contained a passport with a different name, not Michael, but Matthew. She also found a stack of foreign currency, a plane ticket to an undisclosed location, and a photo of Michael with another woman, presumably Anna. Emily's hands were shaking as she pieced together the puzzle. It was becoming increasingly clear that Michael had fabricated a web of deceit that extended far beyond her imagination. The life they had built together was unraveling before her eyes, and she knew she had to confront her husband with the evidence. When Michael returned home from his supposed business trip, Emily couldn't bring herself to act immediately. She needed more time to gather her thoughts and plan her approach. The walls of their once happy home seemed to close in on her, echoing with the secrets she had discovered. Unbeknownst to Emily, Michael had returned home that night with a heavy heart, weighed down by the guilt of his double life. The collision of their worlds was inevitable, and the dramatic showdown was fast approaching. The story was hurtling toward a climax, with the revelation of Michael's treacherous deceit drawing closer. Emily was faced with a decision that would change the course of her life forever, and the suspense continued to mount, leaving readers on the edge of their seats. The tension in the house was palpable. Emily had prepared herself to confront Michael about the web of lies she had uncovered. As she heard the front door open and close, signaling his return, her heart raced and her hands trembled. Michael walked into the living room, his usual charismatic smile faltering as he saw the intensity in Emily's eyes. "Is something wrong, darling?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. "Sit down, Michael," Emily said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and despair. She gestured to the couch, and he complied, sitting down with a puzzled look on his face. Emily took a deep breath and began. "I received a message from a stranger, Michael, a message that led me to discover a secret you've been keeping from me. I found this." She placed the ultrasound photo on the coffee table. Michael's eyes widened as he saw the photograph. Panic flashed across his face, but he quickly composed himself. "Emily, I can explain. That's not what it looks like." Sarah, who had been silently sitting nearby, chimed in, her voice steady and firm. "Michael, I think it's time for you to be honest with Emily." Michael's gaze shifted between the two women, realizing that his web of deception was unraveling before his eyes. With a sigh, he began to confess. "Emily, I've been living a double life, and I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt you." Emily's heart sank as Michael recounted his affair with Anna and the impending arrival of their child. The truth was even more devastating than she had imagined. "How could you, Michael?" she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. As Michael's confession unfolded, Sarah and Emily couldn't help but be astonished at the depth of his deception. He explained how he had met Anna during one of his business trips and how their relationship had escalated. He had fabricated a fake identity as Matthew, concealing the truth from both women. Sarah couldn't contain her anger any longer. "Michael, you've been lying to your own wife for over a year. Do you realize the pain you've caused Emily?" Michael hung his head, the weight of his betrayal weighing heavily on him. "I know I messed up, but I didn't know how to extricate myself from this mess without hurting both of them." Emily, torn between her love for the man she thought she knew and the betrayal she had uncovered, took a deep breath. "I need time, Michael. I need to think about what I want to do next." As Emily contemplated her future, Michael's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID, his face draining of color. "It's Anna," he muttered. He answered the call, and Anna's voice crackled through the speaker, frantic and worried. "Michael, you need to come. Something's wrong." The urgency in Anna's voice made Michael's heart race. He excused himself from the room, leaving Emily and Sarah in a state of emotional turmoil. Sarah turned to Emily, her voice filled with empathy. "Emily, this is a lot to process, and I can't imagine the pain you're going through." Tears streamed down Emily's face as she responded, "I don't know what to do, Sarah. I never thought this could happen to me." Meanwhile, Michael had rushed to Anna's location, his mind racing with fear and confusion. When he arrived at her apartment, he found her in distress, her face pale and her hand clutching her pregnant belly. "Michael, I think something's wrong with the baby," Anna sobbed. Fear coursed through him as he realized the severity of the situation. They rushed to the hospital, and Michael was forced to confront the consequences of his double life in the most unexpected and heart-wrenching way. As the story continued to twist and turn, the lives of the three central characters were further entangled, and the consequences of their choices became increasingly complex. Emily was faced with a life-altering decision. Michael's world was unraveling, and Anna's pregnancy added an unexpected layer of drama. The story was far from over, and the future remained uncertain, filled with heartache and suspense. The sterile, fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor buzzed above Michael and Anna as they anxiously waited for news about their unborn child. The tension in the air was palpable, a heavy cloud of anxiety that threatened to suffocate them both. As they sat side by side in a small, dimly lit waiting area, their emotions teetered on the edge of despair. Michael's thoughts raced back to the shambles his life had become, all because of his reckless pursuit of two separate worlds. "Michael, I can't believe this is happening," Anna whispered, her voice trembling. "I need you now more than ever." Michael couldn't find words to respond. Guilt weighed him down like a leaden cloak. He had caused this pain by trying to lead two lives, and it was unraveling before him. His eyes drifted to the hospital room door, where the medical staff continued their examination of Anna. Back at their home, Emily had been grappling with the painful truth about her husband's betrayal. She had taken refuge in the arms of her friend, Sarah, who had been a steadfast pillar of support. The room was filled with silence, punctuated only by the occasional sob that escaped Emily's lips. Sarah spoke softly, her voice gentle and comforting. "Emily, no one can make this decision for you, but whatever you choose, I'll be by your side." Emily wiped away her tears, her heart a maelstrom of emotions. "I just never thought my life would turn into a soap opera. I want to confront him, but at the same time, I'm afraid of what I might hear." Back at the hospital, the doctor emerged from the examination room, casting a shadow over Michael and Anna's already troubled world. He approached them with a grave expression. "I'm afraid I have some difficult news. There are complications with the pregnancy, and we need to perform an emergency procedure." The words hit Michael like a sledgehammer. He stammered, "Is Anna and the baby going to be okay?" The doctor hesitated before answering. "It's a high-risk situation, and there are no guarantees. We'll do our best, but it's touch and go." Anna clutched Michael's hand, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Michael, be there for me. I'm so scared." As Michael prepared himself for the impending procedure, he couldn't help but think about the tangled web of deceit that had led them to this moment. He couldn't escape the gravity of his choices, and the guilt weighed on him like a prison sentence. While Michael faced the uncertain outcome of Anna's surgery, Emily decided it was time to confront her husband. With Sarah by her side, she returned to their home, her heart heavy with dread. As she entered the house, Michael's absence was glaringly obvious. She found the letters and the hidden compartment in his desk, further confirming the extent of his deception. Her anger welled up, and she picked up the phone to call him, determined to get the answers she needed. Michael's voice was strained as he answered, "Emily, I can't talk right now. Something's come up, and I'm at the hospital with Anna. It's a crisis." The shock of his words hit Emily like a tidal wave. She had known about Anna, but she had never imagined the situation would escalate to this extent. Her anger turned to deep concern, and she whispered, I'm coming to the hospital." The story had taken an unforeseen twist, with Anna's pregnancy now hanging in the balance and Emily about to confront Michael amidst the chaos. The web of deception continued to unravel, and the lives of all involved hung in the balance. Love, betrayal, and redemption would all play a part in the unfolding drama. The hospital hallway was a maze of sterile white walls and the distant hum of medical equipment. Emily, her emotions oscillating between anger and concern, made her way through the labyrinthine corridors to find Michael and Anna. As she approached the waiting room where Michael had told her to meet him, she found him hunched over, his face etched with worry, his hands clutching Anna's medical reports. He didn't notice her presence until she was standing right in front of him. "Emily," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I didn't expect you to come." Emily's gaze was icy, her face etched with pain and determination. "I had to be here. Michael, we need to talk." Anna, lying in a hospital bed with tubes and monitors attached to her, gazed at Emily with a mixture of curiosity and fear. She had heard stories about Michael's other life, but she had never met the woman who was the foundation of his deception. As they moved away from Anna, Emily's voice was low but filled with anger. "I want to understand, Michael. I want to know why you did this." Michael hesitated before replying. "It's complicated, Emily. I never meant for it to get this far. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she responded, "You've not only betrayed me, but also Anna. And now there's a baby's life hanging in the balance because of your lies." Anna listened to their conversation, her heart heavy with the weight of their pain. She interjected, "Emily, I know what Michael did is unforgivable, but right now we need to focus on the baby." Emily's anger hadn't subsided, but her sense of compassion took over. "You're right, Anna. The baby's health should be the priority." The doctors and medical staff had been working diligently to stabilize Anna, and they were ready to perform the emergency procedure. Emily, Michael, and Anna found themselves in a small room, dressed in sterile gowns and masks. They could see the urgency in the doctor's eyes as they prepared for the surgery. As the procedure began, Emily and Michael were left in the waiting room, alone with their thoughts. The tension between them was thick, and Emily couldn't help but break the silence. "Michael, once this is over, we need to have a serious conversation." He nodded, the weight of his actions etched on his face. "I know, Emily. I'll explain everything, and I'm prepared to face the consequences." As the minutes turned into hours, they both wondered about the future that lay ahead. The web of lies and deceit had finally begun to unravel, and the consequences of their actions were now painfully real. Back at their home, Sarah was eagerly awaiting news from Emily. She had been trying to reach her friend, but had received no response. Her worry grew, and she knew that the unfolding drama was far from over. In the hospital, the sound of a baby's first cries broke through the tension, signaling the end of the surgery. The doctors emerged from the operating room with smiles on their faces. "The baby is healthy," one of them announced. "Both mother and child are going to be okay." The relief that washed over everyone in that room was palpable. Emily, Michael, and Anna breathed a collective sigh of relief, each of them realizing that they had been given a second chance to confront their past and make amends. The unexpected twist of the baby's safe delivery had created a complex and uncertain future for all three of them. The story was far from over, and the decisions that lay ahead would define their lives in the wake of a dramatic reckoning. The arrival of the healthy baby brought a renewed sense of hope and urgency to the trio's lives. Anna's recovery was swift, and as the days passed, the hospital became a temporary refuge for them, a place to grapple with the choices they had made. As Emily, Michael, and Anna spent time together in the hospital room, they couldn't escape the weight of their past actions. Anna, who had been unwittingly drawn into Michael's deception, felt a deep sense of betrayal, yet she recognized the humanity in Emily's pain. "I never wanted any of this to happen," Anna confessed, her voice weary. "I didn't know about you, Emily, and I never intended to cause you any harm." Emily looked at Anna, her anger tempered by the fragile life they now held in their arms. "I understand that, Anna, but it doesn't excuse what Michael did." Michael, who had been listening in silence, finally spoke up. "I messed up, and I am prepared to face the consequences. Emily, I will do whatever it takes to make things right." The weight of his words hung in the air, and Emily couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. She knew that their path forward would be challenging, but there was a chance for redemption, for the possibility of rebuilding their lives from the wreckage of deceit. Outside the hospital, Sarah had been anxiously waiting for news. She had heard about the baby's safe delivery, but her attempts to contact Emily had been met with silence. Her worry continued to gnaw at her, and she decided to pay a visit to the hospital. When Sarah arrived, she found the trio in a quiet moment, the baby sleeping peacefully in its crib. Emily greeted her friend with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "Sarah, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. I don't even know where to begin." Sarah offered a sympathetic smile and pulled Emily into a comforting embrace. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. We'll figure this out together." The days turned into weeks, and the hospital room became a sanctuary for the three of them to grapple with the tangled mess of their lives. Emily, despite the pain and anger, began to see a glimmer of the man she had fallen in love with in Michael. He was earnest in his desire to make amends, and it was evident that he was willing to work towards rebuilding their trust. Their conversations were fraught with tears, but also with moments of genuine connection. They discussed therapy, counseling, and the steps they needed to take to untangle the web of lies that had ensnared them. It wasn't going to be easy, but there was a chance for redemption and forgiveness. In the midst of the turmoil, Anna's role in the healing process became clear. She had been drawn into a world of deception, and her understanding and willingness to cooperate were vital in this journey towards reconciliation. As the days turned into months, the trio began the difficult process of rebuilding their lives. They sought therapy to address the trauma and betrayal they had experienced. Emily, Michael, and Anna attended sessions separately and together, working through the pain and mistrust that had been sown in the wake of the secrets that had bound them. The road to recovery was long and arduous, but the three of them were determined to face it head-on. In the face of such betrayal and heartache, they had found an unlikely bond forged through shared suffering and the desire for redemption. The story continued to evolve, with the characters navigating the uncharted territory of forgiveness, redemption, and rebuilding trust. The journey ahead was filled with challenges, but it was also an opportunity for growth and healing that they were willing to embark upon together. As the trio embarked on the challenging journey of rebuilding their lives, they faced many hurdles, but their determination to make amends and seek redemption was unwavering. Therapy sessions became a regular part of their lives, providing a safe space to confront the emotional wreckage of their past. Emily grappled with the conflicting emotions of love and betrayal that had entwined her relationship with Michael. She had many sleepless nights, struggling to come to terms with the profound deception that had nearly shattered her world. Yet, she saw glimmers of the man she had fallen in love with, a man who was earnest in his efforts to rebuild the trust he had broken. Michael, consumed by guilt, worked tirelessly to make amends. His commitment to transparency and honesty was evident in his actions, as he openly shared the details of his past mistakes and was willing to face the consequences. The relationship that had been marred by lies and deceit was now under reconstruction, and their shared commitment to healing was undeniable. Anna, too, grappled with her own complex emotions. She had been unwittingly drawn into a tangled web of deceit, and the guilt of her involvement weighed heavily on her. She had lost the trust of her family and had been forced to confront the harsh consequences of her own choices. Yet, she remained a vital part of the healing process, working to rebuild her own life and forge a path toward reconciliation. The journey toward forgiveness was a fragile one, filled with moments of doubt and despair. The trio faced the daunting task of rebuilding trust, but the bond forged through shared suffering was a beacon of hope that guided them forward. One evening, after a particularly grueling therapy session, Emily, Michael, and Anna found themselves sitting together in the living room of their once shattered home. The weight of their past actions hung heavy in the air, and the room was filled with a palpable tension. Michael, breaking the silence, took a deep breath and began, "I want to apologize again. I know words can't erase the pain I've caused, but I'm committed to making things right. I want to rebuild our family." Anna nodded, her voice filled with remorse. "I never wanted any of this to happen. I'm sorry for my part in this mess." Emily looked at them both, her heart a tumultuous sea of emotions. "I don't know if I can ever fully trust again, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to work towards forgiveness." Their commitment to healing was evident in the tears that were shed that night, and the conversation that had once been filled with anger and accusation was now a fragile bridge towards reconciliation. Their journey was far from over, but the foundation of their renewed bond was built upon the shared desire for redemption. In the weeks that followed, they continued to attend therapy, delving deeper into the complexities of their emotions and addressing the scars of their shared past. The road to rebuilding trust was fraught with challenges, but it was a path they were willing to walk together. Sarah, who had been a steadfast pillar of support, continued to stand by Emily's side. She watched the fragile reconciliation with hope and caution, recognizing the immense courage it took for her friend to navigate the tumultuous waters of forgiveness. The story was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for healing and redemption. The characters had faced the darkest corners of their lives and were now determined to emerge on the other side, stronger and more united. The path to forgiveness and reconciliation was a fragile one, but it was a journey they were willing to undertake with unwavering determination. Months passed, and the trio's journey toward healing and reconciliation continued. The wounds of betrayal were still raw, but they were determined to rebuild their lives and find a path toward forgiveness. Therapy sessions had become a regular part of their routine, and the guidance of their therapist helped them navigate the tumultuous emotional landscape that had resulted from their shared experiences. It was in those moments of vulnerability and open communication that they began to understand the deep-rooted issues that had led to the deception and betrayal. Emily, Michael, and Anna were learning to confront their past actions and the impact they had on one another. The process of healing was slow, and the pain they had caused each other remained an indelible part of their shared history. But they were committed to the arduous path of forgiveness, determined to rebuild their lives and find a way forward. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Emily took a deep breath and began, "I've been thinking a lot about the future. While I can't erase the past, I believe that we can build something new. I want to start by redefining our relationship. Michael nodded, his eyes filled with hope. I want that too, Emily. I'm committed to making amends and proving that I can be the man you once loved. Anna's voice was filled with gratitude as she added, I'm grateful for this chance to make things right. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm willing to work towards it. Their commitment to a new beginning was palpable, and the room was filled with a renewed sense of hope. The path to forgiveness was still fraught with challenges, but they were determined to walk it together. As they began to rebuild their lives, they made a conscious effort to be transparent and honest in their communication. Trust was still a fragile construct, but they knew that it could only be restored through openness and vulnerability. Outside of their shared journey, Sarah continued to be Emily's confidant and source of support. She had witnessed the depths of her friend's pain and the courage it took to confront the past. Their friendship had been tested, but it had emerged stronger than ever. The trio also began to address the practical aspects of their lives. Legal matters had to be sorted out, and financial arrangements had to be adjusted to accommodate the new dynamics of their relationships. It was a complex and sometimes arduous process, but it was a necessary step toward a fresh start. In the midst of their efforts to rebuild their lives, they had to navigate the complexities of co-parenting as they now shared responsibility for Anna's child. It was a unique and challenging situation, but it provided an opportunity for them to put their commitment to forgiveness and healing into practice. The story was a testament to the enduring capacity for redemption and the resilience of the human spirit. The characters had faced the darkest moments of their lives and had come through on the other side, determined to build a new future. While their journey was far from over, the path to forgiveness had begun, and they walked it together with unwavering determination. As the trio continued to navigate the complexities of their new lives, there was a growing sense of hope and healing. The wounds of the past were slowly mending, and their commitment to a fresh start remained unwavering. However, the shadows of their shared history still loomed, threatening to cast a long-lasting pall over their attempts at reconciliation. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in their newly restored home, the echoes of their shared past resurfaced in an unexpected way. The doorbell rang, interrupting their conversation. Michael, ever the protector, answered the door, only to find a man standing there, a look of urgency on his face. "Are you Michael?" the stranger asked. Michael hesitated, but nodded. "Yes, I'm Michael. Can I help you?" The man held up a faded photograph. "I found this picture in my late grandmother's belongings, and I believe it's of you. She passed away recently, and I've been going through her things." The photograph was old and worn, but there was no mistaking the image in the frame. It was a picture of Michael, much younger, holding a child. The child's face bore a striking resemblance to Michael himself. Anna and Emily, who had followed Michael to the door, gasped when they saw the photograph. The revelation was startling, and the questions it raised were both puzzling and unsettling. The stranger continued, "My grandmother always believed that you were the father of her child. She claimed that she had a brief affair with you when she was young. The child in the photograph is my father." The room was filled with a heavy silence as the weight of the revelation settled in. The stranger's presence and the photograph had opened a new chapter in their already complex lives. The implications were profound, and the shadows of the past were casting a long and uncertain shadow over their future. Michael's voice was barely a whisper as he responded, "I had no knowledge of this. I never knew about this child." The stranger's face was a mix of emotions, including disbelief and anger. "I can't prove it, but my grandmother's story was always the same. I felt compelled to find out the truth." The discovery of this long-lost child threw their lives into disarray once again. As they grappled with the implications of this revelation, the trio had to confront yet another layer of secrets and betrayals that had been hidden in the shadows of the past. The story had taken an unexpected twist, and the characters were faced with a new set of challenges and questions. The path to forgiveness and reconciliation had become even more complex, and their journey toward a new beginning was now filled with uncertainty and the weight of a past they had yet to fully uncover. The revelation of the long-lost child had cast a dark and foreboding cloud over the trio's newfound sense of hope and healing. The photograph had shaken the very foundation of their lives, and questions now hung in the air like a heavy storm. As they sat in the living room, the stranger, whose name was Daniel, continued to share his grandmother's story. She had always maintained that she had a brief affair with Michael many years ago, a relationship that had left her with a child whom she had raised on her own. Michael, filled with confusion and disbelief, searched for answers. "I don't remember this, and I certainly never intended to abandon a child. I need to know the truth." Daniel's eyes bore into Michael's, his voice firm. "I need a DNA test. We need to determine if my father is, in fact, your child." The weight of that demand hung in the air, and the trio knew that there was no avoiding it. The DNA test was the only way to uncover the truth and determine the extent of the secrets that had haunted them for so long. The test was conducted in a tense atmosphere, with each moment stretching into an eternity. The results arrived, and the truth was unveiled. Daniel was, indeed, Michael's biological son. The room fell into a silence that was filled with shock, disbelief, and regret. The revelation had thrown their lives into chaos once again, as the echoes of a long-lost affair returned to haunt them. The implications of this newfound connection were profound and threatened to shatter the fragile bonds they had been working so hard to rebuild. As the trio confronted the truth, the weight of the past bore down upon them, casting a shadow over their uncertain future. The story had taken a final, shocking twist that had left them breathless and wondering about the complexity of human relationships, forgiveness, and redemption. The journey of Emily, Michael, Anna, and now Daniel was far from over. But it was a journey filled with the potential for growth, understanding, and the possibility of healing the deepest wounds of their shared history. The story ended with a sense of ambiguity, leaving the reader to contemplate the unpredictable and often intricate nature of human relationships. The shadows of the past would continue to shape their future, but it was a future they would face together, with a newfound commitment to understanding and reconciliation.